Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we hold real conversations with community that need to be heard. On today's episode, you will hear from Hamidah. Hamidah is a true warrior. She is breaking through every barrier that has ever stood in the way of not only the people of Uganda, but the entirety of Africa and around the globe. Hamidah is a gift to us all. Her value in this space is second to none. She must be recognized for her efforts and commitment to better the lives of all. Whether she is flying around Africa, sharing the need for care for people living with type 1 diabetes, or biking and walking through Uganda. She was even doing this through the heart of the pandemic. She will do everything in her reach to make sure that no warrior suffers. A young T1D warrior she is, but her wisdom is not. She has the backing of our ancestors behind her in every step she takes stride in. Although the advancements in technology may not be available to her or many of the communities she serves, there is absolutely no limit to what she will do for our community. Hamidah is a type 1 warrior who is passionate about social determinants of health and access to diabetes technology and LDC with Sonia Nabira Foundation. And she is someone that lives with type 1 diabetes that you should get to know.
Uganda is a beautiful country, can I say the Pearl of Africa, bordered by a number of countries like Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, and we are known as a third world country in the world. And basically, on the healthy side of it, a number of things happen, which really at a certain level may require different improvements here and there. But yeah, we are a beautiful small country in East Africa.
Would you consider Uganda yourself as a third world country?
Honestly speaking, I didn't know the meaning of third world country as a thing growing up. I never knew that my country is considered as a third world country growing up, but I've just got to, dig deeper to understand the qualities or the way of life and, how people live. And given the chance that I've traveled and attended conferences which are international with the Dope Voices, beautiful community, I can differ in the way how we live, but pretty much there is an advantage and a disadvantage of every country.
You say it differs in the way of life, but I know that as long as we all move in the way of love, we are all in one and the same.
Exactly. And I don't really think or see my country as a third world country, but the number of things that we pass through in a country, for example, not having access to quality health care, which is available to people in developed countries, maybe that puts us in a third world country area. But regarding a number of other things, we may not differ much in terms of how we all move on with our lives, But a third world country as a definition, it is not something that I ever really knew as a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a consideration. It was just your home, right? I'm going to be recording with another person from Uganda. He's a type 1. I don't have his name right now. I do have his email, but we've been trying to record for the last few weeks, and he was telling me that he's the biggest problem with us recording is he doesn't have access to he doesn't have access to a computer. He said he has to use a community computer,
Okay.
and and it costs money for him to use it. So he was going to record with me using his aunt's phone. And just by him mentioning those things, um, it made me like think more about the access to things like you said with medical care. And I don't even think about the simple access, the things that I have readily available here with me, even though I may be able to access some things here. I know like there may be a neighbor down the road that can't access them, or they're great
Yeah.
or there are great like discrepancies in Uganda with like access to things as for like even technology?
Oh yes, I love speaking about technology in differences. So first of all, there are things which are, I can say, now available to the world. For example, you can get a computer in Uganda. You can have access to a smartphone in Uganda, but the cost at which these things come with definitely is not something that everyone can afford. Also recording on my phone. So access to technology is still growing in Africa. We have communities whereby there is no access to electricity. You can't speak of technology in a perspective of African communities when you can't even have access to electricity. That is the downside of our communities, but I know that technology can be accessible to everyone everywhere if the devices of technology can favor the living conditions of people within the community. Where, for example, if Apple is focusing on having clients in Africa, you can consider the living conditions. We have sunlight, you can get solar enabled to be able to charge your phone or your laptop or anything you're using. So I believe that if technology is given consideration in different areas, we can have access to almost everything, but the living conditions of everyone. Because when it comes to the diabetes world, we know very well that technology is not accessible to everyone in Africa. And the dream for me is to see that technology accesses everyone, even to the last mile. I live in Kampala. I have access to maybe the basic things that I can have access to. But how about a young type 1 warrior who lives 100 miles from Kampala? How is the lifespan of that warrior? How are they going to be able to be familiar with technology? How do we mold the future such that, the young people living with diabetes in Africa can also have easier management or access to technology? So for me, it is about having access to technology, considering the communities and the culture, from which people who want to use technology come from.
Right. And having the access to the technology makes life living with diabetes so much easier,
Yeah.
for the person living with it, for the medical
Yeah.
team, for the community, for everyone. For
Oh, yeah.
let's say if you have certain devices or technology, just by showing them or sharing that you have these, it gives everyone else an opportunity to look at them and say and ask questions, and with those questions will come more
Yeah.
answers to how they can better or more adequately manage their own well-being.
Mm.
Technology, we have seen throughout the years, has made life so much easier. That's a part of the entirety of the
Yes.
definition of technology.
Exactly. And I was part of a study in Uganda, lucky enough, which is trying to see that technology becomes available in Africa, probably maybe the CGMs. And I could notice the difference, that you could have a CGM on your body for like 2 weeks, and then you go back to the clinic to remove it, and they could always get your data, I think, after a certain period of time that they agree on. But usually, for the last time I got my graph, it could give you a clear image of how exactly the insulin you're using is working in your body, how the food you're eating is, affecting the insulin you have in your body and all that. And with the normal machines that we use without technology, the standard checking time for young people living with diabetes in Uganda is 3 times a day. And you basically wake up in the morning, check yourself, you see if your sugar levels are okay.
Mm-hmm.
You get morning shot, you wait for the 30 minutes for your short-acting insulin to work in with the long-acting insulin. You eat what you have to eat, and then you wait till lunch to check again, and you wait again till supper to check for your sugar levels. That is pretty much everyone's standard of living,
Bro.
unless if you opt for having to buy extra strips for yourself, to make sure that you can check multiple times a day to see how exactly your insulin is working in the body, in order to have really basically good management. And I can see the way how technology can improve lives. I had a CGM before, so the dream is to definitely have access to technology in Africa.
Yeah, because you did
Yeah.
mention that you were part of a study where you wore a CGM, and then afterwards it I'm pretty sure it put it gave you a mental release or relief while you were on that study, being able to see everything. And over that 2 week period, you were able to really learn more about your body, the food consumption, even things such as hormones and the fluctuations that they have on the body,
Yeah.
stress, adrenaline, things of that nature. And what I do find a bit crazy, that here, even in the Americas, we have people that choose not to use technology. They say that it's some people say it's too stimulating. They say that just knowing that they have a device or this technology on their body triggers them. And I always think of like people who don't have access to the technology, how much they truly want it and how much they truly would benefit from it. So it's sort of like I don't know if it's more of a pride thing here in the US or in the Americas, where people say, "Oh, I don't need that because we have access to so many other things as far as technology." But even
Okay.
a small device such as a CGM
Mhm.
today, we know will better the mental health of a person living with diabetes.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I personally think that the way how people love technology depends on everyone. But for a number of things, for example, if you are struggling with complications and you really want to have your sugar levels under control, you will need technology to help you do that, because when you are having the normal way of injecting yourself insulin, you have to work even double to see that you really have your sugar levels under control, to
Yeah,
just have good quality
and
lifestyle. And
there's so many unknowns.
oh yes, so I really don't know, but I think that people should know that technology gives a chance to a number of people who really can't help themselves to even control their sugar levels manually, because I've seen young warriors who really where the parents are really struggling to figure out how do we achieve, the normal sugar levels. And on average, you will find a young kid who is just newly diagnosed with T1D, and the parents may struggle for months or even years to just be able to understand exactly how they can figure out the good chart of managing type 1 diabetes in very many African homes. So on a different level, it benefits, I think, everyone on a different level, but we can't take for granted the fact that technology in the world of diabetes was a very helpful invention.
Yes,
It improves life.
right. It's a powerful tool in general, and
Yeah.
I truly love how when you speak of these young people living with diabetes, you call them warriors. You
Yeah.
give strength to the community, strength to the person living with it, letting them know that me as a person living with diabetes, just like yourself, I am a warrior. You are a warrior. We will live our best life with the access to medicine, technology, those things that we have. We will
Oh,
overcome the obstacles that are placed in our way. We will live our dreams, live our lives to the full. We will not disregard any of the things that we have, but
yeah.
we will just live and dream big, and that's something you are doing. Um, where do you get that mindset from?
Um, Taking you back in 2016 when I was 17 years old, for me, growing up with type 1 diabetes in Africa, it was never about high self-esteem. I grew up thinking that I was below others, and it was a lot involved, growing up, the stigma which comes with living with a condition that majority of people in the country don't even believe that young kids can have type 1 diabetes. So I got a chance of attending a camp with the Sonia Nabita Foundation,
Mhm.
and I think that was their first camp in Uganda, and just listening to the beautiful stories around learning from warriors and learning from Sonia's story herself, I gained the spirit of strength and the spirit of knowing that living with type 1 diabetes it's not a crime. It's not something to be worried about as the way how people made me feel growing up, no matter how my mom played an important role to make me always believe that, living with diabetes is not going to stop you from achieving your dreams, but it was just not good enough. I had a lot of questions in my head because you could find the stigma indirectly wherever you go, at school, within the community. So it was instilled within me until when the life-changing camp really made me learn, embrace my condition, and look at the world in a different perspective regarding my condition. So over a number of years, I was given a chance to volunteer in a number of camps with the Sonia Navita Foundation, and working with them for over all those years,
Can you do me a
being
favor?
nurtured.
Can you say the name of the foundation again so that our listeners can um, not only know what it is, but they too can look it up and see how they can help send donations, organize, do whatever they can to make sure that the organization does get its true respect?
So the Sonia Nabeta Foundation itself is a non-profit organization which specializes with young children living with type 1 diabetes in sub-Saharan African countries. We have been through different countries, like actively Ghana. We've had a camp in Malawi before, and hopefully we shall, I think, be back in Malawi again soon.
And it gives you the opportunity to travel to these other countries?
Yes, I think my first trip was in Malawi to travel. That was 2019. Yes, most definitely.
That's great. We have I don't know if you know, like here in the US, we have organizations, but many of them are just based building communities. We don't have many that actually travel and do things for communities that are in need, that actually do things to build communities that are in need and help them access things. We do have the JDRF, but many times when we see or go to events by organizations like that, we don't always see what I call face value. Representation matters. So a lot of times when we do venture out to these events, we don't see people that look like us. So we truly don't understand the value of having people that look like us, that have gone through the same struggles as us, same lived conditions, same education, same health resources, food resources, things like that. Those things truly do matter. And
Yeah.
with you being able to travel basically around Africa, is there a great difference in access to medical things throughout Africa?
Honestly, I think it differs with every country and the way how the government systems work. With only one country that I've been in Africa, that was Malawi, there was a great difference, but not so much. The general challenges that we face in Africa are basically the same, but the way how we access insulin is different in different countries. For example, in Uganda, we have active organizations like the Sonia Nabeta Foundation, which makes sure that there is access to insulin, there is access to a warrior checking their A1Cs after every 3 months. That's a very big goal. We have tried to see that the general bad health outcomes are being reduced, at a certain extent. And I think that before, organizations coming in and trying to see that they solve different problems, I think it was basically so bad. So in Malawi, what I was able to see is that there are clinics there, but definitely they handle maybe different conditions. Type 1 diabetes is not on the forefront in a country where there is no any endocrinologist. You can imagine just from there. In Uganda, we have only 4 endocrinologists in a country of over 30 million people. So you can just imagine, and I think I was told that even not that all of them are practicing in Uganda. So in Africa, it's on a certain level, that sometimes when I try to, bring my life on the internet, people may even think that, oh my goodness, what is this? Like, how is this person living? But so far in Uganda, There is access of insulin through Novo Nordisk project with access to test strips, transport for warriors. They get, transport refund, and Project Border delivery of insulin to warriors who are in schools or warriors who cannot make it at the clinic, but they have their A1Cs in good control. So with
Now,
the countries that we get to,
what do y'all what is considered because I always had an issue with, like, when people say good control here in the States, well, a medical professional will consider an A1C below 7 here in the US as good control. But we know that people have been able to live long, healthy lives with A1Cs that are higher than that with minimal complications. What is the standard for care as far as A1Cs go in Uganda?
A1Cs in Uganda, I think just recently I was told that a 9 is okay. But before, generally, what I know is that the normal range should be from 6 to 7, I think. That's what they mostly consider. Or 7, 8, 9. Because even with those with a 6, sometimes they struggle with hypos. But I think the standard is 7, 8 to 9.
Yeah, that's a great difference from here. Here in the US, when people have A1Cs that are 9s, they consider that non-compliant or not controlled. When we mentioned before, like, with the access to technology here, I guess that changes a lot of medical professionals' opinions on what is good versus not so good. Quality healthcare and the quality of life go hand in hand. What type of
So yeah,
insulin do you actually use?
I use 2 types of insulin, Insulatard and Actrapid is my acting insulin.
Mm-hmm.
Insulatard is my long acting insulin. Yeah.
Do you know that chemical breakdown? Is it similar to, let's say, like a Lantus or a Humalog or Novolog?
I've seen, you see, that kind of insulin is very expensive in Uganda for any average person to afford. But I've seen very few people who really use Lantus. And even if the doctors may want to put, young warriors on Lantus, sometimes it's hard, because of the access to that type of insulin. It's very costly. It can, like, for example, if someone uses two, how do I describe this? It's basically expensive for an average person to use that type of insulin in Uganda. Really.
Right. If there's an organization in Uganda that were to accept supplies or donations, would I be able to organize and ship, like, supplies to Uganda?
Yes, as long as you have connection available to the foundation and you look through all the options available to forward that insulin in Uganda for warriors who can use it. Because I know there is a young warrior who was using Lantus at the clinic. She was basically on Lantus for her case. And I think even the Lantus she was using was via a donation or something like that. So I think insulin can help. Under different cases, they can.
Yeah, because I know that a lot of people do organize and want to help out in other communities, other people, especially after listening to this podcast. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a few people that reach out asking how can I donate. And I just wanted to be able to insert a direct link into this podcast to where they can help, because I know that you are doing the work as an individual and with the organization to do everything you can to better the lives of people living with diabetes, specifically type 1, as you've been living with it for the last, I believe you said 17 years.
Yeah, I'm making 19 years this year, actually.
Yeah, I know that you're doing everything you can to help the community. So I just want to make sure that I'm able to be able to give access to whether it's you directly or directly towards contacting the organization so that people can donate. I grew up in an era here in the US where our our neighbors are like family. And if we need something, no matter if it was food, healthcare, whatever, if our neighbor had access to it, they would give it to us. That's the kind of community I grew up.
Yeah.
It's not so much like that today, other than when I see like the diabetic online community, we do the same thing. Like if my community, even though we're here basically worlds apart in the US, if my community wants to reach out to you, I truly hope that they do reach out to you post listening to this podcast. You're doing some work there that is not only beneficial to yourself, but beneficial to everyone, even beneficial to us living here in the US.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I will hopefully, I think after the podcast, I shall discuss through how to get contacts and probably more about that.
Right. So growing up in Uganda, did you grow up with a large family?
Yes. Speaking of family, I come from an extended family, and in 2005, I think I had 5 step siblings, and I think we were 4 by then. I was the third born. Yeah, we were almost 8 relatives in the family, and it was a lot going deeper into how I really grew up, because even my diagnosis of type 1 took some time. My mom was just healing from her accident wounds. She was pregnant with my young brother, and I was 6 years old when I was diagnosed. So it was a very big toll on my family. Yeah, for my diagnosis. And I remember we went to one of the hospitals in Uganda, which, was kind of expensive at the time, medium. It isn't expensive, but it was for us, because they tried out all options in the clinics which were not expensive, until like the last mile, the last breath, that they had to go to the bigger hospital where my diagnosis of type 1 was made.
You mentioned in the beginning how, like, when they do look at children with diabetes, a majority of people are like, that child doesn't have diabetes, or how can they have diabetes? So you just stating how about your diagnosis and how they went through all these tests and study to see what was going on with you. And you said it was in like the last mile where they actually figured out what it was.
They didn't even figure out what it was, but they chose the last mile of the option to take me to the hospital, to a bigger hospital, to, find out what is wrong exactly. But it was very hard for my family to even figure out what's going on. It was very hard to any nearest clinic to figure out what was going on. So yes, I always have I always have images of what happened whenever I'm speaking my story. I remember very well, I was taken, I think I was in a DKA, and on the bed where they tested me from everything and they realized that I had type 1 diabetes, they basically told my mom, oh, your child has diabetes. And the way how my mom reacted to the fact that I had diabetes was the most scary part for me, and
Yeah.
it wasn't so easy.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess I would compare it to diabetes here probably 50, 60 years ago, even upon the advent of insulin, and here in the States in 1922 in Toronto, where families really, once they heard that term that the child had diabetes, I'm guessing that your mom, her first thought was like a connection to death.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And you were her baby.
Yeah, I was the
Yeah.
last one. And yeah.
Just knowing that she she dealt with that traumatic experience. I hope that today your mother has been given the chance to actually grieve on that and deal with some of the traumas that do follow a chronic health condition, because many times people are just made to just pick up the pieces and keep on moving in life without having a chance to just stop, breathe, and really just think that, or just really just consider that, okay,
Yeah.
Hamidah
Yeah.
is here today, and she's here
Yeah.
today because I was able to get her the needed medical attention. I've been there since before her birth and nurturing her through life. And now look at the stuff that you're doing. I hope that your mom is truly, she's truly had that moment to actually think about those things, and it has helped her in healing from that traumatic event.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, regarding a number of things. I really started, I think, being a leader exactly at the age of 18. So for a number of things, and even in the community, they recommend me to everyone who gets diagnosed with diabetes. I have a story, let me go brief into that. I have a
You
young
can go as far
warrior.
into it as you want.
Okay, there is a young warrior who is 12 years old. She was diagnosed officially, I think, in October with type 1 diabetes. But after a very long period of her family not trying much to know what is going on. So she was basically diagnosed with a lot. And, when she was brought to the clinic, I recognized them because I was told about her before. So when I was at the clinic, I really recognized them and I talked to the dad. And, the dad is a drunkard, non-stable, has no job. The baby's diagnosed with diabetes. And the fear that he had in his eyes, he was crying, how can it be that my child has type 1 diabetes? And going back in the family itself, they have basically one meal a day in that family. It's not the best. It's not easy for that young warrior to basically live a very healthy lifestyle within that family. So when she got the insulin she got, they went back at home. I made a follow-up on the family, and I was basically advising them to, encourage her to take her insulin, advising and encourage them to take her back to the clinic. And after like almost a month, they finally told me, they made a confession and they were like, we can't take her to the clinic. We don't want to deal with anything regarding the condition. And because some of these things, you can go an extra mile into what you have to offer. And I told them, look, let's do this. I will provide transport, I will make sure she eats food like 3 times a day, and just take the chance to take her to the clinic. And I was convincing the father, and the father finally agreed to take her to the hospital. So after agreeing, a week, I think a day before the clinic day, I was told that the father was arrested because he was idle or they were moving somewhere, and they arrested the father. So leaving that child, 12-year-old, in space, not knowing what to do. Your father is arrested. Your grandmother can't take you to the clinic. No one literally is willing to take over, And I was in this space because every time I went there, I had to talk to the family, and I was, very bothered.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a moment. I just made sure that she gets breakfast, lunch, supper every day. And right now, I have 2 people that I work with, the neighbors. If they went to the last visit that she was on, I will take her to the next visit with me because we all go to the same hospital. So if such a child, becomes someone one day and she survives the condition that is happening right now, my prayer to me is that she can go through it. She can gain the independence of taking care of herself. She can gain the understanding of, figuring out how type 1 diabetes is, and the understanding of that you're not going to get everything that you expect in the community. You're special.
Mm-hmm.
You're a warrior, and for me, that is very, very important. Those are some of the reasons as why the SNF exists, some of the reasons as why even the people that are nurtured through the amazing organizations do what they can do, So definitely, I believe my mom is proud, and I hope my dream is that I can be proud of her one day.
Yes. I know that your mom is proud, and yes, you just gave a lot right there, and it just made me overall just love that I have the ability to speak with you, because you were talking about like the connection you made with this young warrior, and we know that we wouldn't wish type 1 diabetes upon anyone, even our worst enemy, the person who hates us most. We would not wish it upon them. And you were able to make a connection with this young person, and I know that throughout the entirety of them managing diabetes, they have in their backpack a reminder that Hamidah did this. She she's given her all to this community, towards me, and she's showing me by being a leader and by example on the things that I am capable of doing. Even though I may be facing hardships today, I may not have access to the 3 meals. I may not have access to the medical care that I need. My home situation may not be of the best, but mentally, I know
I'm
and I
strong.
will and I can. I
Yeah,
believe, as you said, I'm strong. I'm a warrior. And you keep
yeah,
on pushing that on these young people. Keep on, keep on, because one thing I can tell you, I've been an educator for many years and working with youth as young as 2 years old all the way up to 19 years old. And one thing that they truly love and they admire is when people do not give up on them, when people just
yeah,
are there for them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And yes, I really appreciate it's not only me who is really doing the amazing work in Uganda. There are also other advocates that I have worked with hand in hand for a number of years. And, just a shout out to everyone who will be listening to this podcast and is from Africa or Uganda. As leaders, you know, they are really doing an amazing job because we have 31 clinics in Uganda and which are working with SNF, and through different projects. They have Project Border Border, which basically a clinic works with a young warrior who is 18 and above as someone that a warrior can reach out to and talk to. So I believe that leadership begins at who I think handles you first as a leader.
Mhm.
So for the number of people that I have worked with over the years, I really appreciate them for the way how they've told me that, hey, Hamidah, it's not all about you. I started when I was 18. I've grown through a lot, and they've seen me grow over through different stages as a leader. Even the times when I am not my best or when I'm passing through a situation as a person, they are always besides me. So I appreciate the community, the close friends who live with type 1, the organization itself, you know.
Has this helped you? Sorry, in what you mentioned earlier about the burden of having diabetes and the stigmas that were placed upon you and or placed in a community of people with diabetes, has being able to help others in the community help you in your own journey of healing?
Mm, yes, yes. Serving, first of all, made me embrace T1D much easier. And I think even the global community has done an amazing job to my understanding of the way how people live with type 1. I have an amazing online community of, the DDoP voices, whereby I've been given platforms, to speak about the living conditions of living with type 1 in Africa, with amazing platforms like I'm going to be speaking at a panel with ATTD this March. Yeah, this month, next week, if everything goes well with my visas. So
Say that
I
again.
feel
Where
like
did you say? At where?
ATTD this year,
Okay, I got you.
I'm have a panel there. I'm supposed to have a panel there. So so my healing journey has been really helped through a number of individuals that I can't mention, basically almost from everywhere. And the Ugandan community, absolutely yes. The international community, amazing. amazing to learn from how leaders are doing international wise and how we are doing in Africa. It has given me a realization to a number of things and factors.
That's like the young warrior who looks up to you and you're helping, being able to see the things that are happening globally or benefiting you and helping you, right?
Yeah. And yes, globally, there is, let me speak about the Didok Voices community. They are doing an amazing thing for advocates in Africa, or patients in Africa, and basically everywhere in the world. Anyone can be part of them. What they do is they give you access to attend the international conferences. You learn, you grow as a leader, as an advocate. You get a different understanding of how things are done in international communities, and even being able to speak about your experiences as a person. It was a very major experience for me in February last year, because I gave that presentation about the technology perspective of living with type 1 in Uganda, or in Africa generally. And it gave a realization to a number of people around the world about basically how we are doing in Africa. And the feedback was amazing. And still, again, I'm going to address more as a patient about the living conditions of young people with type 1 diabetes in Africa at the upcoming conference in Italy, ATTD.
Now, what would be the number one thing that you would want people to hear or know as you do share with communities, larger communities? What is the number one thing that you want people to know about about diabetes and living with it in Uganda?
Yes, my number one realization should be that living with type 1 diabetes in Africa is still a journey, which is like 30 years from where you are, probably. We are 30 years back or 20 years back in Africa to the standard level of living with type 1 diabetes. And there is more that we can do if we are given the opportunities and the chances to work as advocates and individuals. As long as there is a spirit of together we can, there is much that we can do to improve the lives of young people living with type 1 diabetes in Africa.
I agree. And as we learn more here, we learn to do better. It's great being able to speak with someone like yourself who's young, but you're mature and you're years beyond your age, and you're able to actually be the light that people need to see, and you're shining that light on this journey, as you said. And people across the world globally, like myself, even though like here I help people access insulin technology, but knowing that there's a whole nother area or location in the world that truly will benefit from just us continuing to share in education and resources. And we there's a term called 6 degrees of separation. And I have a degree of separation now from you in Africa and Uganda. So I'm going to I'm going to do everything that's in me to keep that connection going. And hopefully that connection will be able to link out to 6 more people, so that, and then it just keeps on going. That ball just keeps on rolling, and keeps on building up, so that eventually that 20 to 30 years that we have of separation between diabetes care and management here in the States as compared to in Africa does not exist moving forward. There will be a day, and hopefully it's soon, where young warriors will be able to be equal to or even greater with the access to technology and modern day medications to the young warriors that are on this side of the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, you give me a lot of what we consider here jewels, things of value here in this conversation. I did want to know, even after your diagnosis as you were growing up, what did you ideally want to be as you were growing up as a kid? And second part, are you living your dreams?
Growing up, my mom is a poultry farmer and a business woman. I always used to look up to the way how hardworking she is,
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dream before of owning a farm one day where I basically just do the country kind of lifestyle, rearing animals and, working together with the community. At the same time, I have a sense of art within my soul. So I wanted to be a fashion designer. After partially completing my high school, I think I was at home for a year until when SNF, with their vocational program that I manage now, I was given a scholarship to continue with my education. And I did a course in fashion and design. Pretty much that was more of like my dream. However much after completing, I even designed bags which were sold. I think that was 2021 during the COVID period. And I think that was my greatest achievement and a dream in life,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do fashion for a good cause. That was my dream. Or anything relating to art, telling stories as a dream, I love to tell the African story. So we had the bags being sold. I think it was during COVID where the foundation had a percentage on it, and I also had a percentage on those bags. I think we even still have them in stock for
I was
anyone
about
who may
to
want.
look. I was about to ask you, can we still see your designs? Can they be purchased? Even if it's like any way they can be purchased, even if you still design and can do like even personal items, let us know everything because this platform is not only about conversations about healing through chronic health conditions, but it's also about promoting the person that you are. Because if we can't do it, if we don't do it, then who will?
Oh yeah, thank you. So yes, I think the bags are still available on the SNF website or shop. I also have a link of the bags in my bio. I can send you that link. And then I, of recent, want more to tell the African story. So I am trying to learn photography these days. And I think this year, I'm hoping I can bring what I want the world to see through my skills of fashion, my skills of storytelling in photography and videography combined together. I really want to paint the African story through the artistic way. So I am hopefully I'm going to reach my dream this year. I'm just working all ways to see that I can achieve that this year.
I hope that this platform can help benefit you, and help you reach your dreams.
Thank you. So yes, I don't know if I'm yet living my dreams, but part of my dreams was always helping people and doing charity, and I think I've done that almost part of my teenage and my adulthood age. Yeah, I'm not yet there, but I think I'm living my dreams just with the little that I have already.
You are, like I said, I commend you on everything you're doing. Do you see yourself in the future, like having a family as well?
Yes, yes. I
Look, that was a
yes, I
big,
see
those are
myself.
big yeses. Like that's part of the biggest dream, right?
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to have a family, to raise a family, to watch your children grow. And I mean, just to look at them, and just you get memories that flash before your eyes of yourself as a child. And you're like, wow, like this is me. This is all of me. Yeah, it's truly amazing.
Yeah, thank you. In Africa, we have things that we call, I think, values. I would personally like to have 1 or 2 kids. I don't mind,
Mhm.
but family is one of the most important things out here in our communities. So I truly believe in, because I know family can be anything in the world, but also with a number of things growing up, I think I've learned a lot from family, and having a lot of sisters that made me an auntie at a young age. I truly naturally love kids. So yeah, that's a dream.
Now, when you say a lot of things growing up, because you've been growing up over the last 3 decades in Uganda, how have you been able to like keep your own inner peace through different resolves of conflict and things of that nature?
Oh, honestly, my inner peace, I think I still relied back on basically even my natural understanding as a person. I love when I get to learn about things, even if it is something that is better than me, or someone is trying to have a conflict with me with anything here and there, because I'm a politician. I was a politician in 2021 during the elections in Uganda. And I think generally I love understanding everyone from their perspective, and think that has made me understand and not be so surprised with whatever comes my way. And I tend to always get inspired when something happens, either in a bad or good way. That inspiration usually drives me to even do better things, or even if it's communication, to communicate better, to just basically do better. Learning has really helped me.
Right. When you know
Since
better, you actually do better. I have a few friends that are very close friends that are in Africa, different countries, Kenya, Sierra Leone. Like I said, I have one friend in Uganda, like all over, and many of them have different stories like like you just mentioned, and I do try to speak to them regularly and like just try to help them because I know that it's not something that changes overnight. So it's a healing process that will continue through the remainder of your life, through the remainder of your family's life, your children. It's a healing process because to know that your family directly related, like your parents, your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, like they all have been directly placed or put into these situations, not by their own liking or choosing, but they've been placed there and they've been forced to battle, really.
Yeah, yeah. And it comes from every family here in Africa. For me, I have the confidence to even speak about certain things which happened to me, or I have the confidence to generally just speak the fact that, oh, I grew up in a low income family. It is not the spirit for people to usually speak about the conditions and how they grew up in Africa. It comes from a very high level of self-esteem, and
Right.
I know
Your
very
mental.
well that even for people who open up sometimes, it's either someone is opening up because they are out here looking for um, mercy, or and I think it's also something that I've learned when you open up about the living conditions. Sometimes you just want to see how you live, but you're not necessarily calling out for people. Oh, you guys, I'm dying. Please help me. No. So sometimes maybe people get worried or concerned that, oh, she's from Africa. She's going to basically be speaking about poverty and everything. I believe for me that there is a positive side of everyone's story that we can learn from. So, oh yeah.
Yeah, the greatest part of your story is a story of triumph living with a chronic health condition. I've seen the different backings of placed stigmas, burdens. You doing the great part of your love story is the love that you have for your community, that you tirelessly work and advocate to help people or that have lived through the conditions that you've lived through, whether they're physically, mentally, medically, all of these things, like you're doing them. And on this journey, on this podcast, I truly do appreciate you for being able to just have a real organic conversation with me, because these are the conversations that need to happen so that, as you said, people don't look at you in the terms of pity,
Yeah.
all of the things that we may see through the media, but we look at you as triumph. We look at you
Yeah.
as, if you as an individual are able to do the things that you're doing, if we insert just a little bit of the resources that we have, it can make it so much greater. We can do the things that you have placed on the agenda, that is life, to better the well-being and health of young people living with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I agree. And just like I, told you through my story and my journey, I tend to always speak about the realness in things, and I think that's an advantage. On the other hand, I find it naturally, and here in Uganda, for example, around my community, it has been proven proven over the years that yes, you just keep on proving to the community, to the world that I can do this, I can do that. And it is all I've been doing all my life, ever since my diagnosis. And I think it is all what other warriors out there are doing. Basically, proving to the community, pushing barriers. It's very common from the community and basically anywhere that you would go where someone may not understand if you can do even much as someone who lives with type 1 diabetes as a young person. And I've seen successful understandings of how people view type 1 from friends. I was working at an internship place during my time at the university, and my supervisor, they were always impressed about the fact that I was diabetic and I was checking my 3 times a day. It was always a time of wow, okay, so you get used. I had a conversation today with one of the warriors that I am with the vocational program, and she told me how her friends were asking her about the CGM because she's in the study. And I told her, what was your reply to these guys? And she said, I told them it's none of your business, ask me a lot. And, we were laughing, and indirectly, I just gave her a story of how having the confidence to even educate people about your condition comes in different levels, and we had a nice conversation going back and forth, as just two young Africans living with diabetes in Uganda. And I had the pleasure to just give her comfort, to understand that, hey, it's okay, you're going to find the most weird questions in the world in Uganda, especially. I don't know if it happens even there.
It does.
You will find them.
It happens. It happens here.
Yeah, the conversation was very, very genuine, and I feel glad to always, if I pass through something as a type 1 and another type 1 warrior passes through it, it is always my pleasure to just tell them that, you know what, just do this, just do that. You'll be fine, exercise, take your insulin in time, do as, your doctor says, all will be well. The assurance of knowing that you are going to just be okay, you are going to do it. It has to keep on coming and coming and coming because it comes in different levels, Embracing type 1 in Africa will come in different levels. You'll even find someone who is, an advocate or tries to be or a leader, or someone you would expect to maybe speak about diabetes to educate the community a little when they have that kind of fear, because it's understandable. People here will say the most weird things, So I really appreciate the life God has given me and the people that I've seen in my life, and the friends that I keep on making all over the world, the knowledge and everything. I always and always feel very appreciative, and I hope that I can be able to even give a broader picture of everything this year, hopefully.
I usually in these conversations asking people things such as, but you've given so many answers to these questions, like things that what's misunderstood about you, but you've answered what's the most interesting thing about you. Everything about you, Hamidah, is interesting. Seriously, you are a book, a memoir that I would love to continue to read and follow the chapters along in your life and your journey, because I truly believe that you are only at the cusp, at the very beginning stages of the things that you are going to do in this world. Um, you are going to continue doing everything you can for all of Africa. I see that, but I also see you breaking in and helping people throughout the world because you know that helping Africa means more than just helping the people that are next to you. It means Africa is the heart of everything here in the world. Like, it is truly the center, the place where we begin. So to help,
Yeah.
I know that you will be able to pour out all of this love that you have within that community to the world. And I hope that all of the organizations that do exist, the heads behind them, the people who run the media for these organizations, that when they do hear this, that they directly reach out to you, because it is a person like you that will change the world.
Thank you. Oh my, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And just speaking facts, whenever I get, such I was in Berlin last year in February, and I think after the presentation, I had a number of people just reaching out to me, and it even made me feel I was a bit out. I'm like, oh my goodness, guys, no, 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 no. It's not just because there is a way how you definitely feel when the world, I can say the world and the people you need appreciating what you're doing, and, at an early age, but at the same time, I love the world to know that Hamidah wouldn't be where she is if she did not have the community or the people behind her. So for me, it's not all about me, even though I am speaking here. It's all about all these other warriors out there who may have the opportunity to be where I am one day. And if I have the opportunity to speak facts about my country, that's a pleasure. If it's not facts being spoken about Africa or Uganda out there, it's not my pleasure. It always breaks my heart if it's just propaganda around that people get platforms and someone would take advantage of a platform and they just don't display what, the reality is, or adds what is and what is not to the reality. So for me, I thank Esther. They taught me how, when, why, this and this. My communication just gets better and better. I couldn't talk to you the way I am talking today before COVID, even though I remember doing a project with one of my colleagues in 2018. I wanted to improve my self-esteem because I realized that I needed it. Before, I couldn't. And we reached out, I think, in 10 schools. There were like 10 schools within our area, and we were creating awareness about type 1 diabetes in all these schools. And it helped me, gain my confidence. But with each and everything that I speak about, it's always a pleasure to know that I'm speaking the realities, the facts of what happens down here. And with people appreciating the work and everything, I am really, really grateful.
Hamidah Nabaka, thank
Yes.
thank you wholeheartedly and truly for gifting me the opportunity to sit down with you and have this conversation. because, like I said, this is the Chronically Will podcast where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard. And I just wanted to leave on this note, Hamidah, you are everything that this world needs, a true warrior. Thank you.
You're welcome.